Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. We'll wait a couple of minutes before getting started. My name is Meredith Bell, and I will be your presenter today. Unfortunately, our hosts, Doug and Dan Suppan, experienced technical difficulties getting on the webinar, so I'll be doing a brief introduction about them and their business before we jump into the content for the program today. While we're waiting for others to get online, would you just do a quick introduction of yourself in the chat and let us know where you're from? I just love Doug and Dan. They are great hosts, and they're committed to bringing excellent material to the people in their community, both their members and others who have interacted with them. So I think what I'd like to do is go ahead and get started now, and I'd like to just tell you a little bit about Dan and Doug Suppan and their business, RX One Shop. I've brought a slide up on the screen. Basically, they help pharmacists like you get the best possible prices on the products that you purchase. So they do the legwork to negotiate with suppliers and come up with the very best prices that they can. And they've been working with hundreds of pharmacists over the last 10 years. And you can learn more about them and the wonderful services they provide at their website, rxoneshop.com. So I want to just say a very special shout out to Dan Suppan and Doug Suppan for sponsoring this webinar and allowing us to bring great information to you. So I'd like to go ahead and get started, and I'll do that by just doing a brief introduction of who I am and what we are all about. As I said, I'm Meredith Bell. I'm co-founder and president of Performance Support Systems. We're a global software company, and our online tools help employees develop the people skills and the inner strengths they need to become star employees and performers for you. And our goal is to help you get a positive return on your investment in your people. And so today, that's what we're going to be focusing on, is how you can go about doing that. So the first thing I want to do is just tell you about what we're going to be covering today. You're going to learn 4 different things. The first is how to help your employees develop emotional intelligence, also known as EQ. And second is to make sure that the training you provide employees actually sticks and results in improving the way they do their jobs. The third is to provide on-the-job coaching on a regular basis. And the fourth is how to use our e-learning system for improving the skills they need for your success. And as we start out, I want to just do a quick poll with you and ask you to answer this question. Are you familiar with the term emotional intelligence? And I'll just take a minute to let everybody respond to that. It looks like about 75% of you are familiar with that term. And so that's great. What I want to do right now, though, is give us all a common definition or language about what that means. So emotional intelligence, or EQ, is different from IQ. There are 2 aspects to it. The first is the interpersonal effectiveness, which has to do with how you relate to and communicate with others. And then the second part is the intrapersonal effectiveness, how you manage yourself and your emotions. So, those are kind of conceptual ideas. So how do they translate into real life and on the job? Well, here are a few examples. On the interpersonal side, whether you're interacting with customers or vendors or members of your team, you're going to be involved with listening, engaging in dialogue, resolving conflict, giving or receiving feedback, and that includes both positive and negative feedback. And then on the intrapersonal strengths, those are related, remember, to managing yourself. So those include things like composure, initiative, self-confidence, perseverance, and personal responsibility. So what I want to do is look more closely at one of each in these categories, listening and composure. And to do that, we're going to start with another poll question for you around listening. And that question is, would others rate you as a skillful listener? So honestly answer that question. Would others rate you as a skillful listener? Well, I appreciate the honesty there. We've got more than half of you, over 60%, said no. So the good news is I've got some things to share with you that will help you very quickly become a better listener if you implement them. So you may want to jot down a few of these ideas that I'm going to share. Here's a very simple definition, first of all, about listening. It's the ability to accurately perceive a message conveyed by another person. So what does that look like? Well, for starters, you give the person your full attention and you maintain eye contact so they sense that you're genuinely interested in what they have to say. And then you check your understanding of their message. Because listening is not a passive skill. You need to be an active participant in the conversation. And if you really want to get the message the person is trying to send you, here are a few important tips. The first one is challenging these days because it means avoiding distractions. So you set aside any other work that you may have been doing, or any other devices that you might be using. And this ties into number 2, focusing exclusively on that person who's speaking to you helps them to feel that they're the most important person in your world at that moment. And that does a lot in terms of connecting with them. The next thing is to allow the other person to speak without interrupting them. You know, we can get impatient because we might think we know what the other person is going to say, but the speaker can get frustrated if you're trying to talk over them or finish their sentences. It requires patience to be a good listener. The fourth element is noticing their tone of voice and body language, not just their words, because sometimes the words don't match. So it's important to pick up on any disconnects, because I'll tell you, the tone of voice and body language typically communicate what they're really trying to say, sometimes more effectively than their words. And finally, ask questions to clarify when you're not sure what the person meant. Don't assume anything, especially the temptation sometimes to draw conclusions about what they meant without checking with them to see if you have it right. Now, the other topic, composure, is something that is so critical for you to use because you and your employees are dealing with the public all the time. And composure is an important inner strength. And it has to do with managing your emotions, keeping them under control when you're in a stressful situation so you can stay calm, cool, and collected. So here are a few ideas that can help you calm down and respond appropriately when you're in a situation where you can start to kind of feel your emotions bubble up. So taking a breath, just pausing for a moment, breathing, not a heavy sigh that would indicate irritation, but just take a breath and let your emotions subside and make the conscious choice to not react emotionally in that situation. And one of the ways you can do that is to focus on solving the problem that's right in front of you, and asking yourself this important question: what action could I take that would produce the best outcome possible? Because when you keep that question at the forefront of your mind, you'll be more likely to think about how you can make this turn out well, instead of, losing it with your emotions and reacting in a way that doesn't bring about a particularly good outcome. The thing is, there's a challenge in helping your employees to increase their emotional intelligence, and that is, they don't come to you with a blank slate. They already have existing habits for many of the skills that you might want them to improve. And these habits are hardwired in their brain. And that's because the brain cells related to those habits have been connected into a physical circuit over time. The new, better way hasn't had a chance to do this yet. So when you introduce them to a different approach, they have to establish new connections and then make these circuits, if you will, stronger than the old ones. And I'd like you to think about what you go through yourself when you're trying to improve a skill, whether it's playing a sport or listening to a customer. You've got to put in a lot of practice so the new way of performing the skill becomes automatic. And so it's the same way when you're wanting to train your employees. You'll need to give them a chance to practice a skill many times, and they'll need coaching along the way. So I have another quick poll question for you, and I'd like you to please answer that over in the chat. Do you see yourself as your employees' coach? Yes or no? Do you see being a coach being a part of your role with your employees? Well, this is great. More than 70% of you said yes. And I'm delighted to hear that. And the good news is also that you and your managers can serve as coaches without getting a special certification, because I'm going to share with you the secret that all great coaches use. The key is to ask questions. This is especially important if they're dealing with a challenge, so you can help them learn to solve problems for themselves. So here are just a few of the kinds of questions you can ask when you're wanting them to solve a problem, or you notice they're struggling with something. You can ask open-ended questions like, what's on your mind? So you get them talking to you. And if they start to suggest something that they might do, then help them expand their thinking by saying, and what else could you do? Or, and what else might be possible? So they realize there are different options for a given situation. And then also adding, how can I help you, shows them that you're interested in supporting them and making sure they'll be a success, but that you're not trying to take it over for them. And these questions come from the book, The Coaching Habit, and I highly recommend that book because it contains many other excellent questions that you can use as you are interacting with your employees. A second opportunity for you to ask questions is when you want employees to think about and learn from a situation that didn't go well. So these 5 questions that are here really do work like magic. And I'll just run through them quickly. You might want to jot them down, but we'll also make this replay available for you. So the first one is getting them to think about what happened and how they felt about it, getting at the left and right side of the brain sequentially, the steps of what occurred and then what they felt about how things went. But second, getting them to think about why it happened that way. What was their motivation? What caused them to handle it in that particular way? Third, what were the consequences? The outcome, and were they happy with it? And then the fourth one is, how would you handle a similar situation in the future? So you get them to imagine what would be a better way to deal with this. And finally, what will you do now? What's your very next step? Taking the time to ask questions like this after someone makes a mistake can prevent them from making that same mistake again. And let's take as an example, professional athletes. They have one or more coaches who show them how to take their game to the next level. They apply what they learn over and over. They get feedback during practice or games on what they can do better, and then they analyze how to improve their performance for the next time. So completing all these steps leads them to have improved performance over time. So if you're looking to take the performance of your employees to the next level, you'll want to incorporate this same process in your training. And that's exactly what we've built into our e-learning system, Strong for Performance. It's not like anything you've ever experienced before with online training. Your employees aren't spending 20 or 30 minutes a day going through a lot of content at once. Instead, they're getting one tip at a time that they can use immediately on the job, and it all takes just a few minutes. This is Crystal Barrios. She's a director with a company in the healthcare industry. She'd had lots of training on the technical side of the business, but none on the people side. And as she tells it, Strong for Performance helped her dramatically improve her relationship with her team and get better results. Here's a quick overview of the program. Participants will learn a 3-step process for practicing a skill on the job. They'll focus on a specific topic and then get a specific tip that will help them perform that skill better. And then they go out on the job and apply it, putting it into action. And then they come back to the program to reflect on how it went using those same questions I just showed you a few minutes ago. Then you or another person at the same time is going to be serving as their accountability coach to check in regularly and support their efforts. And they're able to create a quick survey to get feedback from others about how they're doing so they can find out where they might need to continue improving going forward. And we've also built in content for 64 different topic areas related to both the interpersonal and intrapersonal aspects of emotional intelligence, so you don't have to create any material. Now, I'd like to give you a tour and take a quick look at how this all comes together in the program itself. Here's the demo account for Terry Morgan. She's the administrator for the company dashboard, and she's also a participant. Let's start by looking at the participant area. This is what your employees see each time they log in. With their 1-year subscription, they can access the program 24/7 from any device. The welcome video and quick start guide provide everything they need for learning how to use the program. First, they set up their coaching network. They'll choose people who care about their professional development. At a minimum, there's one person, an accountability coach, who makes sure they follow through on their commitments. This could be you or someone else in your company. They can also add other support or peer coaches, such as coworkers and friends. Short videos explain how to be a support coach. The program makes it easy for them to ask their coaches for suggestions and ideas related to exercises they complete, or to ask for feedback about their progress. Next, they'll choose the topic to focus on. They can do this in a couple of ways. You can assign the same topic to everyone based on a theme of the month that you've chosen, for example, listening or taking initiative. Or each person could choose a topic related to a gap between their Winslow assessment results and what their job requires them to do. Once they've selected the topic, They'll follow a 3-step process for practicing the skill on the job until it becomes automatic. We call that focus, action, reflection. And here's how it works. They log in and see their current skill in the top. In this example, the skill is listening. They click Focus to go through one of the resources. The idea is to get a quick tip or technique that they can apply right away with coworkers and customers. This video is less than 2 minutes long, so it doesn't take much time. One of the ideas presented is that a good listener pays attention to both verbal and nonverbal expressions. They complete the exercise and make a commitment to implement their key takeaway from the video. After saving the exercise, they click Request Input to share it with their coaches. They've been using the program only a few minutes, but now they're ready to log out and apply the idea. Throughout the day, they'll look for ways to practice the skill. Later, to analyze what they learned after using the skill, they log back in to complete a reflection exercise. The 5 questions help them process the experience and draw lessons from it in order to handle the next situation more effectively. After saving this exercise, they click Request Input to share it with their coaches. Once again, this only takes a few minutes. When they request input, their coaches receive an email with a message and link to a web page where the coach can enter ideas and suggestions. The reflection exercise completes the cycle of focus, action, and reflection. They'll repeat these steps until the skill becomes comfortable and automatic. Under Get Feedback, they can send out a quick 1-minute survey to ask coworkers for feedback about progress on their current topic. All completed exercises are saved in the Learning Archive, and additional resources are available here. The other piece of Strong for Performance is the Admin Dashboard. One dashboard manages the back-end process for all participants in your company. Only the person designated as administrator has access to this area. On the dashboard, you set up 1-year subscriptions for participants. It's easy to organize them into different groups, such as managers and employees. You can also send messages, monitor their activity, and encourage them to take advantage of specific resources. You can even customize the program by branding it with your company logo and adding links to your own topics. Now that you've seen how the program works, let's talk about what it can do for you and your business. Okay, so now I'd like to describe 3 reasons why investing in Strong for Performance is a great investment for you and your business. First, your employees will learn the skills that will help them treat your customers like gold. And so that means it'll be easier for you to acquire and keep your customers. Also, on the side with your employees, when you invest in their development, you will retain those superstars, and because they will feel valued and they'll be more motivated and appreciative of what you have done for them. And what may be as important as anything else for you is you're going to end up saving time and being freed up to do other things for your business because you'll spend less time dealing with people problems. So for this webinar, I have a special offer for you in the form of a starter package. And what you're going to be able to do is get the dashboard that includes 1 user subscription and get 3 additional user subscriptions. Normally, that would be $1,980. We're giving you a significant discount of 70%, and you can invest in this for just $595. We've just added a link to the order page at the top of the chat box. So if you click that link, you'll see the order form for getting this starter package. And the other nice thing is that you can order additional subscriptions today if you'd like and get a deep discount on those instead of the regular price of $395. As you take advantage of this special introductory offer, you can get those additional subscriptions for $195 each. So I would encourage you to take advantage of this and get started with this development of emotional intelligence with your employees. And I'd like to take a couple of minutes right now to tell you about two other events that are coming up. Next Tuesday, Don Farrell is going to be doing a webinar as part of this series that will be at 2 p.m. Eastern on December 12th. Don is an expert in the area of sales and customer service, and he is going to be sharing guaranteed ways to generate $200,000 in new sales in 1 year. You will not want to miss that event. And you'll be getting a follow-up email from us with a link to register for that webinar. Also, in January, we are going to be having another event for pharmacy owners. This is January 18th and 19th in Warsaw, Missouri. Don Grove, who is the owner of J&D Pharmacy, is hosting this event where all of us who've been involved in this series are going to be guest presenters there, and you are going to get a ton of valuable information that's going to help you in your business. And when you register, if you use the discount code shown here on the screen, instead of paying $495, you will pay the special price of $395, which includes all the valuable information you'll get, plus dinner the evening before, breakfast and lunch on Friday, and $3,180 in free bonuses of products and services. So you don't want to miss that. We, again, will be sending you a link with additional information there so you can register for that event. And finally, I just wanted to bring up the special starter package again so that you can take advantage of that in getting started with this powerful online development system for your employees. And again, the link to that is shown at the top of the chat box. And since Doug and Dan were not able to be with us today, I'll close on their behalf and also thank them for sponsoring this wonderful series of webinars for pharmacy owners, because each one of these has presented valuable information that you can take back and use in your business. So if you haven't had a chance to attend the other ones presented by Eric Schmidt and Tony DeRico, you can find those replays on that link that we're going to send you to register for Don Farrell's webinar. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I look forward to being in touch with you soon.